Today's guest is an Olympian, a Commonwealth and World Cup medalist, and was a nominee for the World Hockey Rising Star in 2018. However, if her life could have gone down a different path, who knows, she could have even been a Matilda. I can't wait to find out all about it. So welcome to Her Way, Her Story, Hockeyroos star Rosie Malone. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And I've got to chat to you a little bit over the last 2 years, but there's so much I've found out about you, but just by doing a bit of research, and I can't wait to talk to you all about it, I guess. First of all, your full name is Ambrosia. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's a really
Yeah.
pretty name. So do you know where it came from? Because I guess it's a bit unusual.
Yeah, well, there's five kids in my family, and my oldest brother, his name is Blake, and my youngest sister, her name is Alanacia. So you can imagine over this, like how long it took for my mum to have her first child and her fifth child, the names just got a little bit more wild as they went on. So there's Blake, Gabriella, Tayser, that's my brother. He's an MMA fighter, so that kind of suits him. Then there's me, Ambrosia, and my little sister, Alanacia. So, yeah, I think my mum just wanted them to be like creative names that were like different and had like a nice meaning behind them. So, I think Ambrosia means nectar of the gods, according to her. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but my grandma told me it's a rice pudding. So, you know.
They were really nice names though, so that's nice. And you grew up on the Gold Coast, and from what I've read, you and your four siblings grew up playing like a whole lot of different sports. Were you always kind of trying to beat each other in the backyard, or were you just off doing your separate things?
Yeah, so we grew up in the Gold Coast hinterland in a place called Binnaburra. And so we were always just outdoors. And I know for me, especially being the second youngest, I was always competing with my brothers and wanting to like beat them at any kind of physical challenge, just like watching them do something, and I would just be that kind of girl who was like, well, I can do it too. So yeah, I think we were definitely all super competitive with one another, and all bar one of my siblings was just like always like into sports, super sporty. So yeah, I think we probably trained each other without even knowing for years.
And being from the Gold Coast, which has so many beaches, did you ever consider like swimming or being an Iron Woman or something like that?
Uh, my mum put me into like nippers when I was younger, and I was really good at the flags, really good at the events on the sand. But as soon as we had to get into the water and if there was big waves, I was like a chicken. I'd be hiding in the sand dunes, like crying, begging my like coach not to make me go in the water. I think because I was so little, and yeah, I was so scared of like being on a board in the big waves. But I definitely love the beach and I love the ocean so much. But yeah, I don't think I was ever born to be an Iron Woman.
You definitely love it now, though.
Yeah, recreationally, like I can just dive under a wave and just go about it my own business. But yeah, it's definitely probably my second favorite place to be, other than a sports field.
And you were 12 years old living on the Gold Coast, and it was announced that the Gold Coast would host the 2018 Commonwealth Games. Can you tell me about how that inspired you when you were younger?
Yeah, so I think it was like my first moment of feeling like all this excitement and a surreal feeling of like, oh my gosh, there's going to be like this major sporting event in my hometown, and going to get to see all these amazing athletes. And then I think the second part of that was like, oh my God, wouldn't it be amazing if I could actually be there? So I think I would have been 19 or 20 when that Commonwealth Games was on. And yeah, I think as I got older and started making junior national teams and things like that, I was kind of had in the back of my mind, like, you could maybe make this Commonwealth Games and be playing at a home Commonwealth Games, right in your backyard in the place you started playing when you were six. So I was really excited for it. But in the end, I had just missed out on a place in the squad, and I was like the youngest one in the mix. And the coach basically said, yeah, we're going to go with older players, all these things. And yeah, I essentially missed out on the squad for that year. And I was really devastated. Still went and watched all the Commonwealth Games, all of that. And then I think it was 2 or 3 months after the Commonwealth Games had finished on the Gold Coast, and I got a phone call from the coach saying, you're in the Hockeyroos. So it was a whole mixture of emotions, so much excitement, so much build up, which was, I think, really cool for a little girl, to have so much inspiration and motivation like that probably pushed me on to be the athlete that I am today and how I started my Hockeyroos career.
And we might come back to that a bit later, but I guess just leading on from that, with all of the interactions with kids that you have now, are you seeing some similarities with the Brisbane Olympics coming up, maybe?
Definitely. I think the thing that I went and spoke at my club team's junior presentation, and I was just talking to some of the young kids, and some of them, yeah, were like 10, 12, 13. And I said to them, I was sitting here exactly the same time as you, your age, and I was just going off and playing hockey with my friends, having so much fun. And I was like, never in a million years did I ever think that I would be, 10, 12, 15 years down the track playing for my country and traveling the world. And I just said to them, like, anything is possible. And yeah, if you want to be at this Olympics, this home Olympics, tell yourself you can be, and like try and push yourself to get there. So I think for them, it's probably giving them a lot of not hope, but like like a path and an inspiration. And some, if you have someone telling you that it's definitely possible, I think it's going to make young kids be really inspired and hungry to actually like chase their dream of potentially having a home Olympics.
And when you were in school, you were really good at athletics, football, soccer, and also hockey. And when I say you were good, you were really good by the sounds of it. You were the captain of the Ashmore Little Athletics Club. In the girls' school hockey competition, you were the youngest by 2 years, I think I read. And you were also playing rep soccer. And I think you were playing touch football as well, possibly. How were you like juggling them all at the same time, but also being, I guess, really good at each of them?
Yeah, I mean, my schooling life, I probably spent half my time at school and half my time not at school, going away on sport. If like I'm lucky with that. So, yeah, I actually really miss being at school and doing school sport, because I think school sport, there are so many different pathways you can go down. And I know for me, I was definitely someone who wanted to try a lot of sports, and I was also really lucky to have my mum who was like wanting to give me every opportunity to try different sports. So I think it started at school, like a love for all these different sports. And yeah, I remember one day I think it was the regional touch trials and the regional hockey trials were happening on the exact same day. And I just remember I would play one hockey game, I'd jump in the car, she'd quickly drive me 15 minutes to the touch fields,
Oh,
I'd
wow.
play the touch. That just happened the whole entire day. We're doing back and forth. And yeah, I ended up making, I think it was the South Coast touch team and South Coast hockey team all in the one day,
Oh,
which was
wow.
pretty cool. But I think, yeah, for me, I just loved doing as many sports as I possibly could. And yeah, that's why I essentially, up until the day that I went to the Hockeyroos, was still, yeah, doing like 3 different sports.
So you were missing quite a bit of school, but were you still like catching up with all of your work and everything? Did you find a way to do all that?
Yeah, I think in my report cards, I always had stuff like, yeah, it was probably like cheeky chats a lot, but then they always said like, yeah, Rosie always works really hard and make sure that she stays up to date with what's going on. So I think for me, like, yeah, sports great. It's given me so many amazing opportunities, and yeah, essentially it's been a major part of my life and who I am. But I think at the same time, it's so important for athletes to also have something else to focus on, and it's not just like people talk about, oh, you need a backup plan in case you get injured, etc. I think it's actually just so important just to have another focus going on outside of your sport, and I think that makes a better athlete as a whole. So yeah, for me, I definitely wanted to make sure that whatever I was doing, I was actually pushing myself to try really hard at, whether that was, yeah, a game of hockey or soccer, or making sure I get a good mark on an assignment.
And I guess around that time in 2013, you won the I Need to Get the Wedding Right, the Queensland Premier's Rising Star Award, and the federal member in your area even talked about you in federal parliament. And he said, I rise to inform the House about an outstanding young lady called Rosie Malone. And then he goes on to talk about, all of your achievements and how you were awarded a sports champion grant. That must have been very surreal by the look on your face.
Yeah, well, it just reminded me because I haven't had that in so long, but I was laughing because I remember, yeah, and my friends bringing it up on YouTube and stuff like that when we were at school, and everyone was just like, "Oh my god!" And at the time, I didn't even know that was something that even happened in Parliament, but I think it was Stuart Robert MP who did that, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, to get some support with that grant was also really helpful because, yeah, as I mentioned, being And a family of 5 kids and a single mum. We were always fundraising and doing whatever we could to try and get me and my siblings to the next sporting event. So things like that, I think, were actually, yeah, just so important to get me to where I am today.
And during your primary and high school sporting years, who were your main sporting inspirations and idols?
I had a few. I think if I was a young kid right now, I would have so many because it's so cool how much women's sport is actually on TV and is accessible for young girls these days. For me, I think most of my idols were people who I had like a personal association with. So like I had Brent Livermore, who was like a Olympic gold medalist, the Kookaburras captain, and yeah, played for Australia in the men's hockey team. He was my coach on the Gold Coast since I was
Oh, right.
12. And then, yeah, there was Nikki Hudson and Angie Lambert, who were also, yeah, I guess personal, like inspiration to me, people I looked up to, but had personal connection for me. And then I think just growing up, I loved hearing the stories of like Billie Jean King and things that she had done. And also like Ash Barty. I've just loved uh, watching what she's done and just doing it her own way the whole time. So I think, yeah, those guys have probably been my biggest inspirations as an athlete growing up.
Did you always see sport, like whichever sport you were to play, as a possible career path when you were older, or was it kind of hard to maybe make your way to a high level in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you really know when you're younger if you can actually have a full on career out of your sport. I mean, even now, I've been in Hockeyroos for I think 6 years now, and yeah, hockey overseas is funded really well. Here we don't get that much money, so like even this year, I'm juggling full time work whilst doing full time training and traveling and everything like that. So it's probably yeah financially hard to say that sport is purely my career, but in terms of like yeah my sporting career, I think I couldn't as a young girl have dreamed about how cool some of the opportunities have been that I yeah have been or given or earned, you know what I mean? So being able to travel the world with some of my best friends, play for my country, go to yeah Olympics, Commonwealth Games, all these cool things, like that's what I think has been definitely the coolest part of my yeah sporting career.
And when you were younger, you were juggling all of these different sports, and you had represented Queensland in three sports by the time you were 15. I hope that's correct. At that stage of your life, what was the main dream that you did want to achieve?
Oh, hard. I think yeah, I think at that stage I was that was when I'd made the Queensland cross country team and I think I'd made the Australian soccer team and the Australian hockey team as a junior. And I think for me, I always loved my team sports a lot more. So I don't think I ever saw myself as wanting to be a runner. But I think at that stage, my dream was to either, yeah, play for the Hockeyroos or play for the Matildas. And a part of me was like hoping I could be doing like what Elise Perry did and play both. But yeah, it just got, as I got older and older, it got a little bit harder to juggle everything at that level. But yeah, my dream was definitely to play for Australia in either hockey or soccer.
And you were selected for a Junior Football World Cup for Australia as well, and you're the youngest to ever have been selected. Is that true as well?
Yeah, I think I was 12 years old and I'd made the under 13 Australian team. Um, and yeah, I think that was like mostly a really cool moment for me because I had only started playing soccer when I was 11. And I only started playing soccer because my brother Tayser played and I would go to his training sessions at Carrara every afternoon and I was really bored and I would just watch him train. And then one day I saw a group of young girls playing in like the corner of one of the fields. And I said to my mum, hey, can I play with those girls? And so she watched them for a bit, whatever. She saw they're all a little bit older, but at the end of the training session, she walked up to the coach and said, hey, can my daughter play with your girls' team? The coach was initially like, has she played before? Mum was like, no, not really. She never played soccer. And he was like, oh, I don't know. Anyway, long story short, basically he had been like, well, she's not going to be any good. She can come to the next training session. I'll see how she goes. And yeah, I basically trained with the girls, and I was in all my brother's like hand-me-down boots and clothes and everything like that. And as soon as I'd finished that training session, he just said to my mum, all right, bring her back next week. So yeah, I ended up joining the Gold Coast rep soccer team, and then yeah, within a year had made the Queensland team to go to nationals, and then had made the Australian team after going to the AIS with the girls for a camp. And then I was off to Vietnam playing in the Asian Cup. So nothing that I could have ever dreamed of. And even though I was really scared and nervous when I first started training with the girls, I think that was a really nice moment for me, because I think it was that whole thing of like having a little bit of courage in times when you're like scared or unsure can create some really cool opportunities for you down the track.
And I assume that there was a point where you were like, can I really play a million sports forever if I want to kind of reach the top? What was the process like to make a decision and pick which one?
Out of hockey and soccer,
Yeah.
people always ask me this, like, why did you choose hockey over soccer? And I always tell them the same thing, which is I actually never chose specifically. As I say, juggled them for as long as I possibly could. It was really hard to keep staying at that level with soccer, because the coaches and stuff all told me I had to like quit all of my sports. So they wanted me to quit hockey, soccer, athletics, everything like that. And I couldn't even do school soccer. And so I think as a 15-year-old at the time, that was really hard for me, because I loved doing so many sports, and I didn't want to just do the one sport. So yeah, I think that's when it kind of started to become a little bit hard when I was 15. But literally, I think I was 19 or 20 when I got the phone call to come into the Hockeyroos team. And the coach, called me up and said, you've made the squad. We've got to fly you over tomorrow morning because we've got this tournament, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I got off the phone call with him, I actually called my mum to ask if I could go away to the tournament. I was like, hey, mum, I've got to call the coach back. Can I go to New Zealand for this tournament? Anyway, but after I'd spoken to mum and the coach, my third phone call was to my soccer coach to basically say, hey, I was like, hey, Gary, just letting you know I won't be at the game this weekend. So, it was actually only until that moment that I actually had to stop playing soccer full time. And I've just been really lucky. My soccer coach, Gary French, who I had since I was 12 years old, whenever I'm back home, he always lets me play soccer and, would let me train with the girls and things like that, because he knows I still love it. But, essentially, once I'd gone to the Hockeyroos team, I couldn't really do everything like I did, yeah.
You were also offered the chance to try out for the Brisbane Roar in the A-League.
I was, at the time doing stuff with like the QAS, and I was like training with the Raw girls in like the QAS squads. And I know that was definitely the path that I was being put on for all of that stuff. And I loved it. But that's when I then had to call my soccer coach and say that I couldn't then keep committing to everything that I'd been doing with soccer. So I don't think it was a trials for the Brisbane Roar team, but it was, I was with the QAS training against the Roar, and that was essentially like the next step.
And I do know that you obviously ended up in hockey, but I was looking through the Brisbane Roar squad from around that time, which had Mackenzie Arnold, Katrina Gorey, Claire Polkinghorne, and US star Carson Pickett. I guess these guys could have been your teammates if you decided to go down that path.
Could have been, I know, and I could have been playing at a really cool home World Cup, which would have been awesome. So it would have been cool to look. You never know what's going to happen in sport. I don't have any regrets. Yes, I definitely am sad that I can't be doing both sports at the same time at a high level. But it's funny because I had one of my soccer coaches sent me a photo just before the girls started the World Cup. And Tom Samani, who was the Matilda's coach at the time when I was like 12, 13, he'd invited me to a training session with, sorry, my dog's there. He'd invited me to with some of the girls. And it's so funny because I literally, as a little 12-year-old girl, have these photos of me training with like Sam Kerr, Tamika Butt, Elise Keller-Knight, Lydia Williams, like half the Matildas. So it's really cool to look back at it and just think like, yeah, that I got to experience some of that with some, yeah, amazing female athletes.
Away from hockey, are you still following the soccer pretty closely now? I think I saw on your Instagram you went to a Matildas game.
Oh, yeah, I'm always following the soccer, always trying to, yeah, somehow stay a little bit connected with that. And yeah, I'm friends with a couple of girls still on the team. So I was messaging them throughout the World Cup. Yeah, just wishing them luck, saying how cool it all was, how proud we all were. And yeah, I was definitely watching all of their games. Yeah, I think feeling like the rest of Australia, like we were all out there with them. So exciting and scary in the semi-final and everything like that. So yeah, definitely still following all the soccer and yeah, miss it a little bit.
You obviously made the decision to play hockey, and the Hockeyroos program is based in Perth. Can you talk a bit about what it's like moving to the other side of country and how much time of the year you would maybe spend over there?
Yeah, so I this year the program was decentralized, so I got to live back home on the Gold Coast and train with the QAS up in Brisbane. So that's been really cool. And as I said, being able to work full time. So I've been working at Somerset College here on the Gold Coast as well. But yeah, when I was in Perth, I think for 4 years, and yeah, it's really hard. Like when you come from the East Coast and you're training in a full time environment where it's obviously like there's a lot of hard training sessions going on. There's a lot of pressure. It's yeah, super competitive environment, everything like that. It's really hard to also be living away from home and like your support network. And I was saying to someone the other day, like I know a lot of people see the glory and the fun and the joy, or maybe everything you post on social media, and it's just like all the highs. But I think sometimes people, yeah, forget how challenging it actually is to kind of get yourself to that point as well. So, yeah, Perth is a beautiful place. It's great training with the team when we're all together, especially, you know, leading into big tournaments and stuff like we have next year with the Olympics. And we are really well supported over there. But yeah, I definitely probably struggle the most in the whole team with being away from my family and my home on the Gold Coast because I think I'm very much a homebody. But yeah, the program over there is like set up really well, and I think our team is yeah, we really push each other and work hard to prepare for a tournament when we're all together, which is cool.
And obviously, a lot of the other girls would also be from, I guess, all over the country. So, do you all feel like a family when you're together in Perth?
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be like 85% of the girls at least would be from the East Coast. So yeah, it's funny because when we're over in Perth, it's like we're all on a completely different time schedule to anyone else probably, you know, in the city. So it's like we all train together at our set times, and then it's like people are at work or different places, and then we might like yeah, we'll be starting work late, or we're going getting a coffee all together, or you'll be going to the beach with the girls. So even though we spend so much time together training, we also spend so much time together by choice outside of hockey as well. I think because we are all such good friends, and yeah, we do really love all hanging out together. So I would definitely yeah consider some of those girls to be my best friends, and it is definitely like playing um, with your family.
And just on that note, one thing I really noticed about is how well the Hockeyroos squad are also unified when it comes to things like celebrating the Indigenous culture of some of the players in the side.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work in that space as a whole team. We have two Indigenous girls on our team, but as a team, we are just really passionate about the whole thing and want those girls to feel connected and their culture to also be celebrated, and for it to really be something that's intertwined to our Hockeyroos culture. So yeah, I won't go into all of it because it's kind of like our team stuff that we talk about. But yeah, a lot of our culture is based around Indigenous words and meanings and things like that. And we really like to wear our Indigenous ochre kit with pride. And there's a lot of special people who have been a part of, I think, within our team and Hockey Australia, and also outside of that, who have really helped us to stay connected and celebrate those girls and their culture. And I think also give other Indigenous athletes some kind of representation and something to aspire to look towards or be motivated by or feel a connection with.
And we chatted earlier about how many sports you're good at, and some people may see that and think you're someone who just has everything go their way, but you've had a lot of obstacles to overcome, being raised by a single mum and missing out on that selection in the Gold Coast Com Games. The Hockeyroos lost at the Olympics in Tokyo, and then you've had some pretty full-on injuries as well, like losing half a finger when you were younger, and then having a pretty badly injured finger against New Zealand last year. Firstly, what do you like when it comes to dealing with those sorts of disappointments of missing selections or losing a big match that you might have been expecting to win?
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, it's always been really important and helpful to. That's why, like, I love being connected with my family and things like that. Um, because yeah, they're obviously there for you when things don't go well, and I think they also kind of help you bring you back to reality a little bit as well. When I think for us, it's like it's also consuming our sport, and I think we do, which we shouldn't attach so much of our identity to who we are as a person with like our performance. And I know for me, like in particularly with the Olympic Games, we'd won all of our pool games. We were playing so well. It was the first time ever the Hockeyroos had won, gone through the whole pool games without losing a match. We're doing so well, and then yeah, we got to the quarterfinal and we're playing India, and essentially it was just one of those days where just nothing was going our way. I hit the post in the first 2 minutes. They'd scored one goal and we just couldn't get the ball past the post for the whole rest of the game, and ended up losing the game 1-0. And essentially that was our whole Olympic dream over. And then after that, it was like, because of COVID, we didn't get time to then enjoy the rest of the Olympics. We just had to pack our bags literally that night. The next day, we were leaving the village. And I think it was a blessing in disguise to have to do the 2 weeks of COVID quarantine, because I think it gave me time to try and process everything that had happened, because you're on like the biggest high of your life. And then that happened, and it just felt like you're on the lowest low. And even though I spent the first probably 3 days in my room crying in the hotel by myself, waiting to get out of quarantine, by the time I'd got out, I literally, my mum had said to me, like, come on, let's go down to the Gold Coast Hockey Centre, because my little sister was playing. And I'd said to her, I was like, no, I don't want to go. Like, I'm so embarrassed. Everyone's going to be so disappointed in me. Like, I've let everyone down. And I was just feeling this like overwhelming feeling for months. Like, I just like let everyone down, and I was just so upset. And it took like parents and young girls coming up to me being like, a parent came up to me and was like, you've given my daughter like so much hope. You're her idol. She wants to be exactly like you. She loved watching at the Olympics. And all these people who I think kind of bring you back to reality, that it's like, it's not the end of the world if you don't have a performance go your way. And I think that's something that I really looked up to with Ash Barty with, because I feel like she always had so much pressure on her, and the way that she dealt with losses and her way to detach herself personally from her performance was really amazing. So I know that's something I think a lot of athletes need to work on, but for me that was pretty interesting to go through that process. And it made me realize, like, wow, having those people outside of your sporting bubble is so important, because they bring you back to reality.
And on a bit of a lighter note, though, the Hockeyroos recently did lock in a spot for next year's Olympics, and you won bronze at the World Cup and silver at the Com Games last year. So there must be a much lighter and a better feeling that this team can kind of win a medal in Paris.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I think the way that we have been building over the last couple of years has been so good. And to be the first team to qualify for the Paris Olympics next year in hockey was really exciting. And just to have that spot secured, I think, obviously takes off some of the pressure of qualifying. But now I think it's like, now we can just turn all of our focus to our training and how we want to build for that tournament. So, I think it's been really good. We've had a lot of time together to train and play and build up with basically the same squad the whole time. And I think it'll be really cool leading into Paris to see how we perform, because I think we'll be coming out and playing some really good hockey.
Yeah. And there was news recently, actually, that the funding for the Hockeyroos will be increased, which is great, bringing it closer to what the men's team receives. But I guess my question is, why was it not equal already?
Yeah, good question. I think after uh the Tokyo Olympics, because we'd come fifth and the boys came second, I think most of the funding was based off that performance. Yeah, essentially it is a little bit, it was disappointing because yeah, we're still number two in the world. We have medaled at a lot of major tournaments, and yeah, it was a little bit sad that one tournament that yeah, we ended up, it was essentially one game, ended up having such an impact on our funding, and that's why we had to be decentralized this year, because we literally couldn't even afford to be paid enough to live in Perth. So yeah, I think Hockey Australia have always tried to keep it equal funding, but this has been different this last year because we weren't getting yeah, as much I think government support, so we weren't able to be paid the same as the boys and have as much money for our program. So our squad also had to be reduced to 21 players, I think it was, instead of 27. We'd lost an extra coach, things like that. But you know what, if there's one thing about girls and female sport, it's that we're bloody resilient, and yeah, you could give us any kind of situation and we'll find a way to get back to the top. So yeah, we are tracking well for the Paris Olympics, and I think with the position we're in, hopefully we can get a lot more funding for hockey when we bring home a gold medal.
There's obviously a lot more sports now competing for elite female athletes when you started playing. What do you think hockey can do to keep more girls in this sport and recruit more girls?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really important for hockey to be really creative with some of their methods to get a lot more young girls and boys in hockey. I think because there are so many, yeah, as you say, like opportunities for especially girls to now try all these different new sports, and there's all these new pathways, which is really cool. Personally, I think that there could be a lot more work done in like the schools system to get lots of young kids just joining hockey and trying it out. I know it's really big in like the country and also some like private schools. But yeah, I think things like the Hockey One, which is a domestic league with yeah the best players in the country, I think that's really awesome because it gives people actually an opportunity to see the sport live at the highest level, which is really cool. And yeah, I think the other big thing is probably just like social media. I think that's really cool how some of the sports have actually grown their fan base through yeah, storytelling with players and giving, I think, fans a little bit more access to the insights of yeah, the elite athlete life.
Because yeah, I think I read an article last year that was talking about how elite some of the profile female athletes are, and then it said that you had a better beat test result than some of those bigger names. Do you think that maybe hockey needs to promote just how good their athletes are a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I definitely am someone who has been banging on about it for years in hockey. Just watching, yeah, like some of the other sports grow like that. And I think that's what I mean. There's so many cool stories within our hockey program, and whether it's at, yeah, the highest level, whether it's at a national level, stuff like that. I think it's really cool to get stories and connections like that out there, and yeah, information when the team's doing really cool things, because yeah, I think the Matildas have been really good at doing that. And I know for us, even though yeah, we came fifth at the Olympics, and I think the Matildas came fourth at the Olympics, but I think just purely through social media, it probably would have felt like the Matildas won a medal at the Olympics, you know, whereas we could have really pushed how well we had actually gone well, because yeah, fifth at the Olympics isn't so bad. Yeah.
But you must be super excited that the Hockeyroos games and also the Hockey One League are going to be on 7 Plus this year, so everyone can watch the games for free, which is great.
Yes, it is super exciting. I think it's been really challenging in the past when people wanted to watch games, and they'd always say to me like, "Oh, how can I watch your game?" And I'd either have to say to them like, "Oh, you can't unless you buy a ticket and they're live," or I think it was on like KO previously, so you had to pay for a subscription and things like that. Whereas this is going to be, yeah, an amazing opportunity for sport, which I think it's been really great for Channel 7 to jump on that leading into the Olympics to showcase the sport, because I know even after to showcase hockey won leading into the Olympics. And I think, yeah, after the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, I know that I had so many people messaging me, or when I was talking to them, saying, oh my God, I'd never watched a game of hockey before. And now that I've watched it, I love the sport. So I think it's like there's so much opportunity for hockey to grow in that way, because being a hockey and a soccer player, to me, they're like the same kind of sport. So if the Matildas could build their fan base like that, I definitely think it's going to be, a opportunity for us to do it too.
And just finally, I've got one more question. You've still got, fingers crossed, a lot of your career ahead of you, and being part of the Hockeyroos, a team with pretty amazing history. What kind of legacy do you want to be able to leave for the next generation?
I think for me, the biggest, the most important part of like a legacy that I want to leave for the next generation is just giving them a pathway to be able to have a career out of the sport. Because I know for me, it's like my life in sport and hockey has been amazing, but what would be even more amazing, would be to have more of a pathway and career in the sport where I don't have to be stressing or relying on money or having another job and juggling 50 different things, just so I can do something that I'm really good at and really passionate about and love doing. That would be for me, just to be a bit more of a game changer in that and try and push a few things to get hockey up with a few of these other sports.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Rosie. It's been so great chatting to you, and thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Abby. It's always fun chatting to you. I love how you get around to all the sports and know so much about all the athletes and the teams.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. To support Her Way, visit the link in the description section.